Welcome to New York Got Game.
Welcome back to another edition of New York Got Game. Interesting week in New York basketball. The Knicks wrapped up a road trip. It was a 5-game long one for the Knicks. December has started. Now they're back home. They begin a 4-game homestand this week, and they started it off with a win, so that's good for the Knicks. We're also going to talk a little about the Nets as well, too, in this episode where the Nets have been playing some pretty inspiring ball. Not winning all the time, but they're really competitive, and they might be punching just a little bit above their weight. So we've got multiple guests on the show, a lot to get into. Let's get right into it. Coming into the season, there were very different expectations for New York's NBA teams. The Knicks were viewed by many as championship contenders, while the Nets, they were viewed as contenders to nab the top pick in the 2025 NBA draft. In the offseason, I had the pleasure of speaking with the hosts of the Bad Weather Fans podcast about their expectations for this season. So, considering we are right at the quarter mark of the NBA season, I thought it would be good to check in with my guys, Alex Benesowitz and Mike Bisceglia, who join me in studio now. Guys, what's going on? How you doing?
What's going on, man? Doing well.
Doing
Thanks
good.
for having us.
Doing good.
A lot has changed. Well, not a lot, not too much, but
a little bit.
Some things have changed since the last time I saw you. Last time you guys were here, Karl-Anthony Towns wasn't Nick, right? The only thing we talked about in the offseason was the trade between the Nets and the Knicks and Mikal Bridges. But both teams off to decent starts.
Yeah.
You were high on the Knicks.
Yes.
Not saying you were high. You were high on the Knicks. Just to be clear, people. High on
Not
the
during
Knicks.
the show, yeah.
But you, with the Nets, you're, I don't know what it could be. But I want to talk to you guys about that. I want to start by asking you about each of your teams and the vibes around them right now. So, Alex, last time you were here, as I mentioned, you were very confident about the Knicks. You said, you're the only person to sit here on the show, you said it with your chest, you said the Knicks are going to win the title this season. Now, that was before the Cat trade, right?
Right.
You've now seen them play 19, 20 games at the time of us recording this. How are you feeling about the Knickerbockers right now? What do you think of them?
I think there's some hiccups. You know, I hate the term, but you got to use it here. They need time to gel. I really hate that. But and defensively, they've been pretty bad. And there's a lot of times they get rolling offensively and they give up the quick hoop, and it's very frustrating to watch. But at the same time, I do feel that they can get to the promised land. But I do feel that once they added the Karl-Anthony Towns, they added a $50 million a year question mark. Yes, Towns has been great, but defensively he's not great. I know the Knicks are missing Mitchell Robinson and Precious Achiuwa, who will be back very soon. It's almost a new year. They should be back soon. That'll help so much defensively on their bench, and maybe they'll move Robinson to the starting lineup. Who knows what they do there. But I think I'm still confident, but I'm not as confident because I knew what the Knicks were leading into the season before the Towns trade. Now you move Bridges back an option. You move everyone back, changes their whole. It's happened right before training camp too. So yes, they had training camp. So thankfully they still had that together with the new squad, but you didn't have all that time together, and you knew Mikal Bridges dropping him in there with all his Villanova boys. You knew that was going to just click, and it was going to be fine. But now Bridges is pressing. He's in a different role. I know he's playing well against the Pelicans, thankfully. So it's hard to transition, from when your whole team gets three starters are new this year from last year. I know Randall was hurt most of the year, but you lose Dante DiVincenzo, you lose Randall, big parts of the team. Towns is there. He's playing really well. He's a lot better than I ever thought. I mean, I haven't watched him this closely. I've seen him his whole career, obviously, but when you're watching every single game, every single second, you really learn about a player. And wow, But defensively, it's kind of it hurts. But to answer your question, I do think that they'll do really well. I can't predict the championship now, but like I did the last time I was here. But I can say they can get to the conference finals and to the finals, and then you never know what happens there. But the confidence was lost a little bit, especially with the shaky start.
Okay, Mike, I want to talk about the Nets and with you, because I believe that you did not expect the Nets to be that good this season, but they've recorded 9 wins. I know you did too. They got 9 wins in their first 21 games. What do you make of what you've seen from your team thus far?
Yeah, they've really overachieved, and you have to give a lot of credit to the coaching staff and the head coach and Jordi Fernandez. He's been fantastic. He's done an amazing job getting this group of guys to essentially outplay the talent that's on the roster. I mean, you've seen incredible performances so far this year from Dennis Schroeder, Cam Johnson. Cam Thomas had been playing great until he got hurt, and the culture within that he has brought is unbelievable. I think the stats so far this season is they have taken 20 charges in 20 games or 21 games. They took 9 last year. And I think you might say, all right, it's 13 more charges, but just everything that he has brought in and instilled into the organization, you can feel that oozing into victories. 8 of their losses are against the top 4 teams in the Eastern Conference, 2 against Cleveland, New York, Boston, and Orlando now with the second loss. So they have gotten great wins on the road against the Western Conference. They go into Phoenix, and they just seem to play like a team, which is cliche to say, but I haven't seen it for the last couple of years, so it's kind of cool to be like, all right, they care about each other. They pass the ball to each other. They take charges. They defend. The Nets have certainly overachieved, and it's been fun to watch. As a fan, I'm not actively rooting for them to lose. I can't be somebody that's like, oh, no, they made a shot. This is not good. I can't do that. I am a fan of the Nets. I do believe, though, this team internally knows they've got to lose games, and I think you'll see guys get traded, get moved, and eventually the losses will start to come in because it is about a bigger picture of what this organization needs to be. And I don't think you have to have the most losses to be bad enough to win the lottery. We've seen you can be the 4th worst, 5th worst. So I think they'll somehow find a way to get back in there. There's still 60 games left. There's a lot of L's left on the schedule. They'll move the pieces. But I do think you now feel good inside, like, all right, we have a head coach. We have somebody that can lead this organization in the future. And I think as a Net fan, take a couple of wins now, know that losses will come later, and just feel good that your organization is in a much better place than it was 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah, I think Nets fans should feel pretty good about this, besides yourself, because you thought it was going to be bad. You look like you had a coach. That's one of the first steps, I should say,
yes,
in terms of a rebuilding process. Now, for both of you, we know this. The connectivity between these two franchises, at least as of recently, is the Mikal Bridges trade.
Right.
Now, Mikal Bridges, prior to the Pelicans game, where he started shooting the ball well, he struggled offensively, and for me, more of a concern defensively since putting on a Knicks uniform. How do both of you feel about the trade now? Because I've been watching, I've been seeing on social media, I've seen the Nets fans, the Knicks gave up 5 first-round picks. This was a bad deal for the Knicks. The Nets fleeced them. I haven't really seen that word, but they're saying that.
Right.
How are you feeling about it? Because there was talk at the time about it possibly being a lot that the Knicks gave up, and then Mikal has struggled. But for you first, are you worried about the deal? How are you feeling about the deal right now?
I was a little worried. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I'm not worried. Like, I'm not worried at all. I mean, I am concerned a little bit, but I think Mikal Bridges is going to be fine. You got to think about it. Like, we talked about this already, where he traded to the Knicks, dropped into this perfect scenario, all his Villanova teammates. He's ready to rock in the second or third option between him and OG. And then all of a sudden, this Karl-Anthony Towns bomb drops on the franchise. And now he's playing in a role he's never played in his life, where he's the 4th option, literally, on some nights. And he gets the ball, and he presses. The second he gets the ball, he's like, I got to make it. It's really hard to play ball that way, I'm sure you know. And it's difficult. Like, you feel like you have to make every shot that you get because you might not get the ball back for a few minutes. Yeah. So that's difficult. And some fans don't want to hear that because you gave up so much for him. But you have to look at the bigger picture. It's not about apples to apples here with the picks. It's about how far is this team going to go? Because if the Knicks win a championship, they get to the finals a couple times. Let's say they even get to Eastern Conference Finals 4 out of 5 years, and they get to the finals once, they lose, whatever. The trade is worth it. You know what I mean? You're winning. You're winning games. And Nets fans can lie and act like that the trade was a fleece even if they win a championship. It's not true. Yes, on paper, there was a lot of picks, that probably more than what they should have. But it was a Knicks and Nets tax, a New York tax. Yep. You can't just give Mikal Bridges to the Knicks for 2 picks, which is what he's probably worth, and, some players. It had to be more, and the Knicks were desperate for him, and the Nets took advantage of it. But at the end of the day, I think Mikal Bridges is going to be fine. I think he's going to get comfortable. I think fans have to lay off a little bit. They always need somebody to make fun of every single season. There's always got to be somebody. From Elfrid Payton, who's back in the league and playing well, to Julius Randle, there's always got to be somebody. It used to be Bobby Portis once upon a time. You have to always have somebody to make fun of. You don't. I promise you this team is good enough. You don't have to make fun of somebody on the team. Let's support Mikal Bridges. He's going to be fine, and away we go.
Mike, are you feeling like some, not all, because I know a lot of good Nets fans like Mike right here.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about this? When you see Bridges struggle, who you were just rooting for,
right,
like 4 or 5 months ago, or you like, told you so?
Yeah, I mean, for me, when Mikal Bridges went on the Roommates podcast and he threw the Net fan base under the bus, I lost a lot of respect for Mikal on that certain instance, on that particular podcast. I understand Knicks fans invaded the building and it was loud in there, but you support your organization, your team. You don't let your buddies bully you around and feel like you have to say, yeah, it was loud, I didn't like it. Like, defend your organization. I don't believe like Dante DiVincenzo and that would not have allowed that. So I say all that with Mikal lost me there. And I think a lot of Net fans feel the same way, where he wasn't a Nets player for them. So then, obviously, when you get traded to your rival, which is in your division and, you know, a couple miles away where you see him and he's there. It's not like he was traded to Dallas or Houston, right? He is right there. So with all of that context, yeah, it feels really good if you're a Nets fan to know you've got all of these first-round draft picks unprotected. The Milwaukee pick comes in where you can now rebuild your organization regardless of how well he plays. It's still a good trade for the Nets. And I would say this, too, as well for Mikal. He could have a horrible regular season, go into the playoffs, have a great Eastern Conference Finals, have 2 really good games, and for the Knicks, it would all be worth it in that instance. And for the Nets, can get all these assets back and rebuild their organization the right way. So I do think it helped the Nets. And for the Knicks right now, it's been a major disappointment. You can't give up that many picks and be this average. I'm sorry. Like, you have your best friends there to kind of shield things away, and Josh Hart's done a really nice job of protecting him and being his best friend to the media, saying everything will be okay. But eventually that will wear off. I do expect Mikal to play better. I think, to some of Alex's points, there's a lot of truth with that. But at the same time, yeah, there's a lot of pressure. You just got traded to the Knicks. They have Eastern Conference Finals championship aspirations. Like, tough. Play better basketball. I mean, at some point, you're going to have to succeed, and you can't be, you know, a part of a problem why the Knicks don't win a title. He's going to have to play better if this team's going to beat the Bostons, if this team's going to beat the Cavs, beat the Magics of the world. What you said before, he's got to play better defense. Jason Tatum, you got to play better defense. Regardless of making shots 1 for 7 from 3, he's got to be better. I think he will be. I think he'll get a little more comfortable. But again, like, we'll see what happens in the long term. But as a Net fan, yeah, it's fun to see him not playing that well right now. I'd be lying. I'd be lying if it's not right.
You know what? I got to give you credit. If you're gonna hate, just hate. I don't mean
all the way,
really hate,
yeah.
but just hate. Embrace the hate.
Right.
Just be in it all the way.
1 for 7 from 3. Let's see all those all night long.
That's
Not
what
against
you
the
want to see.
Right.
Well, look,
Yeah.
where I agree with you, Mike, is that I think the bigger concern for me was on defense. You're not seeing him fight over screens. He's dying on screens. The shot's going to come. Not really worried about that. Defense's effort, as both you guys know, being the basketball fans you are, and that we know it's in him because we've seen him defend at a high level. Just something isn't there right now. And I think he does figure it out, though, on both sides of the ball. I think he figures it out. Now, Mike, for you, I want to get back to something you talked about with the Nets. That's Jordi Fernandez.
Yeah.
And his impact on this Nets team. What do you think that has been? What have you seen from what he's done with this Nets team that has him in this good form this early in the season?
Yeah, I think he's really instilled confidence in everybody. He lets anybody shoot, right? Like, if you have a good shot, take it. He holds players accountable. So both of those aspects for me, right away, you gain respect in the locker room, you hold players accountable, and that the players know that he has their best interest in them. Right away, you can feel such a difference. And I alluded to the stat before, but just that acknowledgement of 20 blocks as opposed to 9 from the season before, taking charges, to me, that's mind-blowing, where this team last year just didn't have that confidence oozing out of them and caring for one of each other. They have it with Jordi. He's really done a nice job in that aspect. To go in to Golden State, to go in to Phoenix and get wins when you're missing Cam Thomas, Dennis Schroeder, Cam Johnson, Nick Claxton, Noah Klein. Like, you shouldn't be able to do that. And it's one thing if you do it once, but they've done it enough times now where he is doing something in that locker room where he is giving these players confidence, where they can go in it and they truly believe that they can win basketball games. Like we saw with the Knicks game, so the Knicks get a little taste of it there in that first game. Yeah. If you take your foot off the gas versus the Nets, they will come back. They play hard for 48 minutes. Every game they have, there's some sort of altercation where they're getting into it with other teams. They don't care if you have more talent. They don't care if you have superstars. They play hard, and they will go after it, and they want to get wins. Like I said, players don't tank. Coaches don't tank. Organizations might, but he's got them playing very hard basketball right now.
Yeah, those guys are not thinking about tanking. No. I was at that first Nets-Knicks game at the Garden, and a bunch of us in the media were saying, look, even though the Nets had gotten down by 20. I think it was 21 points in that game. They still were playing hard. Jordi Fernandez had them playing good defense. And then the Knicks, they took their foot off the gas.
Boom.
That game ends up going into OT, and it took a Jalen Brunson three-pointer and your boy Mikal Bridges having a nice block to get that win. That'll make
that
the
was
Knicks.
fun.
That'll make. Yeah, I'm sure that was fun for you. I'm sure.
Out of all the players, it was great that it was him.
I'm sure it was. I can only imagine that you texted or called right after to say something lovely. I'm sure that's what happened.
Wishing well. Yeah.
Wishing him well. Well wishes is what you guys do on the Bad Weather Fans podcast. Alex, the Knicks, offense, been really good. They've been showcasing an offensive explosion this season. And we saw this pretty much come to the summit of their offense when we saw it against Denver. What do you think has been the key factor to their offense being so good as it is thus far this season?
Karl Anthony Towns. He is just amazing offensively. One of the best players I have ever seen offensively. Like, he's incredible. I'm not saying he's Patrick Ewing because he's not. That's sacrilegious for me. But he's the best center besides him in my lifetime. It's incredible. And his post moves are like Patrick Ewing in the post. Like, I haven't seen moves like that in the post since Patrick Ewing. I don't want to hear about Eddie Curry or any of these players. Like, that was it. You know what I mean? Like, and it's been incredible. And the problem though with him offensively is that on the defensive side of the ball, it lacks. That's why you can't compare him to Patrick Ewing. You know what I mean? Because he did it on both sides. You know, so, and it's only been a couple games. Whatever. Point is that offensively, they've been amazing, and it's because of Towns. And Brunson and Towns are so good that they're going to play together. We talk about this all the time on our show. Fit is for losers. You talk about, they don't fit. That means the players don't like each other. You know what I mean? If they're good or they're not good enough. If they're amazing and they want to play together, like you look, I know this is not the Heat big three, but you look at that on paper going into that. There were some questions of, LeBron and Wade need the ball. How are they going to play well together? And you look back at 4 straight finals appearances and 2 titles, and you're like, I think it worked out pretty well. Because they figured it out. One guy has to work with the other guy and their strengths and weaknesses, and they figure it out. And Brunson and Towns are that good that they'll figure it out, and they have offensively. Yes, you need Mikal Bridges, to step up. Yes, you need OG Anunoby on other nights to step up offensively, and that has been the key. Is the other guys stepping up, and Deuce McBride off the bench has been amazing. But defensively, it's been scaring me. But the key to the offense has definitely been Towns that have been taken off.
Towns has been good, fantastic passer. Knicks have been passing the ball really well this season. That's been very impressive there. Mike, got to come back to you with the Nets because part of the focus, and I knew you talked about it last time you were here this season, was going to be their focus on developing young players, right? And I know these 2 players I'm going to mention have dealt with recent injuries, but what have you made of the development of Nick Claxton and Cam Thomas, the 2 of those guys, 2 young guys that's supposed to be part of this Nets core? What have you made of their development and what you've seen from them this season, although it's been a little bit limited in time?
Yeah, with Cam, I was really excited because with Mikal Bridges gone, and this was Cam's team, right? Is he a star? Is he an all-star level player? We know he can score the basketball, but can he do the other things to be a well-rounded basketball player? And so far in the young season, he's done a really nice job scoring the basketball, shooting a high percentage from 3, career high in assists. He's not a great defender, but he does play defense and tries to play defense. There's this idea that he doesn't. That's not true. He'll go out there and give what he has to for the team. At times he takes some bad shots. At times he holds the ball on too long. But I would say for 23 years old, now in a system that works with him, with Jordi Fernandez, it's been really refreshing to see him play such great basketball. And as a Net fan, he's one of the few bright spots. You thought coming into the season, he has done that, and it's been awesome to see. With Nick, it's been kind of up and down with a lot more downs, especially because of this back injury. He had one of his better games tonight versus Orlando. He looked a little bouncier, got to the basket. He got ejected at the end of the game for another terrible flagrant foul, which he had an earlier in the season one, so you don't like to see that. You just gave him almost $100 million, so you need him to play better basketball right now. But with this injury, he's been in and out of the lineup. He hasn't done much. So he's been a disappointment on that end. Another young player, Jalen Wilson, he's been a nice fit. As the 51st pick in the draft, now in his 2nd season, he's done a nice job. One of those younger players. But overall, Nick, not so great. Cam has been fun to watch. Just wish he wasn't hurt because that was super disappointing.
Yeah, but both guys, I know you're hoping that they can be part of this Nets future. And we'll see a lot left to be told with the Nets, how they play this season, how healthy they are, how they integrate with maybe new pieces they bring around them. So we'll see. Now, Alex, you mentioned the Knicks' defensive woes when you were talking about the offense. And the Knicks' defense has not been good, especially when it comes to switching. They've had a lot of issues with that. What steps do you think this team should take to shore up their defense? Or is it a matter of some things you mentioned earlier, Mitchell Robinson coming back, Precious Achiuwa coming back? Is it a matter of those things in time, or is there more things strategically you think they can do to make this defense better?
Yeah, I think it just comes with time, and I hate the term, but I'm going to say it again, it's gelling. It really is. And
gotta gel.
You got to gel. I mean, you got to have time to gel. But it really is like, defense is all about effort. Like you said it earlier, Jeff Van Gundy always used to say it on TV. Like, at this level, at the NBA level, you can play defense if you try. You know what I mean? People used to say, Carmelo Anthony can't play defense. He could when he wanted to. You see him lock up Kobe, lock up LeBron. When he wanted to play defense, he could because he had the talent to do so. He just didn't want to all the time. You know what I mean? That's just how it is. And then you become a poor defender, you got a bad reputation, and there it is. So I do think the Knicks will get it together defensively. I don't know if they'll do it before they get Robinson and Achiuwa back. I think that those two guys are major, major defensive pieces for their team and their organization. And also, as you mentioned before, Mikal Bridges, he needs to step up on defensively. And he's the kind of guy that they added they call them wing stops, OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges, and they were supposed to be the lockdown defenders on the outside, and Josh Hart also, who's been fine, and those three guys on the wing should lock down any combination of players in the entire NBA, besides maybe Luka or something, you know what I mean, or Giannis. But even so, like, those are the guys that they should be worried about. Like, they can switch like with all the three of those guys and take care of business. The problem is that on the back end, Towns isn't great, so nobody's afraid to get into the lane.
Right.
So that's the problem. So that's where Mitchell Robinson will come in because he's one of the best shot blockers in the NBA. And a lot of Knicks fans get on him as one of the people that you want to make fun of because he's always injured. But when he's there, he does so much on the floor. You might see his stats at the end of the game. You go 8.6 rebounds and 3 blocks, and you're just like, oh, this is not a great game. But if you're watching the game like OG Anunoby, this guy was locking people down, and nobody can get in the lane against him. Mitchell Robinson. The reason why Joel Embiid injured Mitchell Robinson in the playoffs was because he was the one that was not stopping him, but containing him and getting and annoying him to the point that he was just like, all right, get out of here. So it's. I think that they'll get it together. The switching is an issue, and that's with communication, and that will come in time. So I think they'll be fine.
Time and patience. Not something we hear all the time from fans, particularly Knicks fans.
Never.
Not a lot of patience from the Knicks fans. Mike, speaking of patience, where do the Nets go from here? Because I think when you look, at their start, should Brooklyn prioritize building a winning culture this season, or should they focus more on securing a top pick? Because when you see what you've seen thus far, you're like, oh, man, you talked about this earlier. The team can play hard. They look good. Barclays Center might get some juice that they didn't think they were going to have because this team is playing hard. You kind of, as a fan, it's hard to root for them to lose. But what direction does the franchise go in right now? Because they're kind of at a crossroads here.
I think because the Nets 4 or 5 years ago or whatever it was when they were the 6th seed with D'Angelo Russell, Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, and they overachieved. They got the 6th seed. They got to the playoffs.
Championship. Yeah.
They got to the 6th seed. Be nice. They got to the 6th seed. They lost to the Sixers in 5. They signed Kyrie and Kevin Durant without trading anybody, which is really difficult, right? So I think there's this belief of, okay, well, that's how they did it 5 years ago. Let's continue that route now because, I've seen it. It works. Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant aren't coming into the building after this season. I think you can build winning culture and lose games at the same time. It's possible if you have the right coach in play and the guys on the roster are who they are. And Cam Johnson's traded, Dennis Schroeder's traded, DFS Dorian Finney-Smith's traded, and they continue to play hard, but they lose games at the same time, I don't think would be the worst thing in the world for the organization. And I think that they'll benefit more of than winning 34 games or 35 games. And remember this, the lottery now is just so different that I don't think you need to go all in on being 12-70 like the year the Nets were when they had 10 wins and they didn't get John Wall and they missed out and they got Derek Favors. The Atlanta Hawks last season were a play-in team, lost, then ended up with the number 1 pick. So it's a little different than it used to be. They just need to be somewhere in that range of 3, 5, 6 and see where it lands. But you can't go all in on we have to lose every game or else we're not going to get Cooper Flagg. There's no guarantee at all that happens. Right. It's a lottery. It truly is a lottery. So lose some games, build culture while doing it at the same time. I think they have the head coach to do it. And there's no way he took the job and doesn't understand what's happening long term for this organization. He's going to continue to play his guys, and they're going to continue to try their best. But once CJ's gone or Dennis Schroeder's gone, the losses are going to start to pile in there. And I do think ultimately it's the best for the organization. And other players, other free agents, maybe not as the level of Durant or Kyrie, will see that, and they'll build what they need moving forward. I do believe the losses are coming.
I do think you're right about something. Like, I do think you can lose games and still build culture, right? Like, building is not solely through winning. At some point, you have to win.
Yes.
Which is why I think getting a taste of it even early in the season matters for those guys on the Nets, right? It matters towards building a winning culture. You don't want to come in and just say, all right, we're rolling out. And as you said, I think you said this, you were like, organizations tank.
Yeah.
Players are not going to, coaches are trying to win games because they want to keep their jobs. Players are also playing for their jobs in next contract. They're not tanking. It's the organizations.
Yeah, this is not the Sixers organization where every year it's like number one pick. Let's just keep losing. Let's keep losing. You have your reset year, then you move things forward. I know it's a little different because like the Mets ended up extremely overachieving, and baseball is weird where you can get things going and win games. But the whole idea was we need a reset year and then move things forward. Nets are doing their version of that, where they're going to get younger, get lottery picks in, and try to win battles. You're not going to win ultimately with. I love Dennis Schroeder, but he knows what he's doing too. He's a free agent at the end of the season. He's going to get a contract, right? Like, he's playing really well where he could get another contract. So I expect the Nets to lose games, but at the same time, bring in that winning mentality inside the best they can.
Have some competitive losses. That could be good for the Nets. We'll see. All right, last thing before I get you guys out of here, and I appreciate your time for you both. You kind of hit on this, Mike, and Alex, I'm intrigued for you with the Knicks, but we'll get to both of you. And you first. Alex, what moves would you like to see your teams make as they to their roster as they move this season forward? Because the teams you root for are in such different positions in terms of where the organization wants to go. So you've kind of mentioned some already, Mike, but I'm really curious as to what you would want and what you want to bring back. But Alex, for you with the Knicks, what kind of moves would you like to see the Knicks do? Do you think they need to make another move?
I think, no, they're perfect. They're winning it all. That's it. No, I'm just kidding.
I was like, we got
That's
that
it. We're
energy
done.
back.
No, it's good.
Okay.
Yeah, no. I think they've done a great job, and I'm not going to tell you that I'm a capologist or anything, but they've done a great job staying by the apron, whatever that is, and they're good to go, and they're not going to lose picks.
You don't know your aprons yet? You haven't figured it out?
Aprons, yeah.
Are you an apron hater too?
I'm an apron hater.
My guy Stefan Bondy, who'll be on with us later in the show,
Yeah.
he's an apron hater. Okay, are you an apron hater?
I just don't understand what it means.
That doesn't make any sense.
I'd like to say I'm a hater. I just don't get it. So I pretend I don't like it because I'm like, I don't know what they're saying.
Yeah. It's silly. Like, just have a salary cap. Like, what are we doing here?
I would explain it to you, but our viewers do not care about
No,
that.
no.
I'm not going to. I'll explain it to you.
And people who act like they know what they're talking about, they don't. So
I understand it enough to explain it. I think I'd explain it. But again, nobody wants to hear that. They want to hear your answer.
Can they afford it or not? That's all people want to know.
That's all they want to know.
Yeah.
Do you think the Knicks should make any moves this year? I know you were talking tongue-in-cheek when you said they're perfect, but do you think they should make any moves this season?
I think trades, I don't think are going to happen. I don't think they should, unless, obviously with the disclaimer of if something comes up that's amazing, you do it, of course. But I think the best course of action is get healthy, gel, and also try to add somebody in the buyout market.
Okay.
Like the Melo year, the 54-win year, they added Mike's boy, Kenyon Martin, out of nowhere. Just dropped him on the roster. Great player off the bench, a lot of energy, crazy dunks. Perfect for the team. Jason Kidd and Kenyon Martin playing together on the Knicks really hurt his soul. Ugh. So I always bring that up to him as well. So that was part of the point. But buyout market is the key. That is really the key because yes, they got these guys like Matt Ryan. You didn't have T.J. Warren in the G League tearing it up. You can call him up. He's a vet. Maybe he's just found it again, like Campaign. So maybe that's somebody you can call. Like, don't do crazy things unless it's somebody that you don't see coming. You know what I mean? Like Karl-Anthony Towns, he didn't see coming. Like, but you always have that disclaimer. Like, yeah, I wouldn't do anything, but if something's crazy, sure, do it. But at the end of the day, Knicks can stay the course. Add somebody to the buyout market. Let's ride this out.
Okay, so they don't have to go too crazy. I think that's realistic. Some fans are not going to want to hear that.
No, of course not.
They always want to add another star, even though they're not.
Trade enough draft picks. Let's relax.
That'll be fine. Although I'm sure Mike would like to see him trade another 5 draft picks. I'm sure he'd love that as well too.
2040. Yeah.
Mike, with the Nets, you're on a different side, right? Because you have the expectation that they will be sellers and selling off players, not buyers here. So you mentioned some guys: Dorian Finney-Smith, Dennis Schroeder. Cam Johnson as well, too.
Right.
Do you expect all those guys to move or some of those guys?
I think a combination of it. I just want to say one thing about the Knicks and what they can do. They've lost a lot of their flexibility when they did trade Mikal Bridges, where it will be a little more difficult to make trades because they went all in on Mikal. With that point, The only way I could see the Nets being buyers, and I don't think it would be this year, but it's why I like their keeping their flexibility, is monitoring what's going on in Milwaukee. Because it would be sweet to take all of those Knicks picks and deal it for Giannis Antetokounmpo and make that trade where they have all these extra assets. That's the one way I would listen to not going the youth movement if Giannis somehow did become available. But let's say that's not a scenario that's going to happen. I don't think you can trade all your veterans because you need a presence in the locker room. Although, as we've talked about, Jordi Fernandez, excellent head coach. You need to have some presence in the locker room. I do think it'll be a combination of I think Dennis Schroeder and Dorian Finney-Smith will be traded at the deadline. I think Cam Johnson is I want to say, is a friendly contract. I wouldn't go that far by no stretch. But the way he's playing right now at $21 million with Ben Simmons coming off the books, you need to have somebody on your team. So I think CJ stays. And I think with Schroeder's contract expiring, I believe, and DFS being that 3-and-D guy who's proven who can do some of that. He's played really well this year, shooting better from three and defending. Some guys like Jason Tatum did a nice job in the game versus the Celtics. I would expect DFS and Schroeder to be gone. What that gets in return, I don't know. I hopefully multiple picks and everything they want. 7 first-round draft picks like they got for Bridges. But you just continue to get assets in so that when it's time to make the big move, like the Knicks did when they got Mikal Bridges, when it's time to attack, they do that as they continue to bring in players and draft well, taking the Oklahoma City Thunder model.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the route in the NBA now. The Knicks did it till they had – at some point, you're going to have to cash it in. So that's one thing I want to say. You can't hoard and hold on to these picks forever. At some point, you have to cash it in, and other things you have to hit and develop. Right?
You have to,
or then turn that into players that you want that fits your team. I think you'll figure that out as we'll see what the identity is for the Nets because we're just at the tip of starting to see what that is, how Jordi Fernandez wants to play. And we'll see. All right, we'll see if both teams make any moves. That is Alex Benesowitz, Mike Bisceglia. They don't hate each other. Knicks fan and a Nets fan doing a podcast, a Bad Weather Fans podcast. It's a really good one. Everybody should check it out.
Thank you.
Mike sometimes hates on the Knicks. Alex will hate on the Nets. But they still are able to do the podcast together and come up here. Guys, thank you for joining me again because I thought it was a good time to have you both to talk about the Knicks and the Nets. I will check in on you guys throughout the season, see how you're doing. Mike, hopefully not hating too much. Alex, same for you.
Thank you.
And,
appreciate it.
You guys got to come back again on New York Got Game.
We can do a whole show on the CBA, on the NBA CBA.
Yeah, that'll get everybody to watch.
Appreciate it.
We'll do that. Thanks, guys. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
All right. All right, let's take some time to solely talk about the Knicks, who tipped off a 4-game homestand with a strong 118-85 victory over the Pelicans on Sunday. We're going to talk about what's going on with the team, and we're joined by the Knicks beat reporter for the New York Post, my guy Stefan Bondy. Steph, what's going on?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Now, the Knicks, they didn't play with their food against the Pelicans, but the big story from this game is the performance of Mikal Bridges, who had been struggling. However, he scored a game-high 31 points. But what did you notice from Bridges in this game against the Pels on both the offensive and defensive end?
Yeah, I mean, it was totally different from what we saw in Charlotte. Completely different player, just in terms of the confidence and the ability to make the shot. I mean, he came out and scored 13 points in the first quarter. It started right away. And then you mentioned the defensive end. I think that's going to get overlooked here, but he was part of the defense and a big part of the defense today. I thought he played really well on that end. That only allowed 28 points in the first half. I mean, that is something the Knicks hadn't done since 2001. Keep a team to that low a number in the first half. So, a great all-round bounce-back performance. It wasn't against a good team. The Pelicans are pretty terrible. So, they have a tougher test coming up against Orlando.
They do, and we'll get to that in a second. And you talked about the Pelicans not being good, Steph, but they did hold New Orleans to 85 points on Sunday. They've held opponent to under 100 points 6 times this season. What's your evaluation of where this team is at defensively right now at this point in the season, 20 games in?
I mean, they still have the same problems that they had earlier. I think they're playing at a slower pace, which is why you're seeing some of the scoring go down. I do wonder, and this is a conversation that we'll be having for a while until Mitchell Robinson comes back, what's going to happen when Mitchell Robinson comes back? Is he going to put him at center to kind of help with that rim protection? I don't know the answer to that. I still think that, you look at these scores and it's a bit misleading. I don't think their defense has been that great. Now, listen, the Pelicans, You could take this game for what it was. They were missing Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, and Herb Jones. They lost their 8th straight. They're probably the worst team in the NBA aside from the Washington Wizards. So, I'm not going to take too much away from this game just from a defensive perspective. But, I thought it was really good for Mikal Bridges to get his confidence going.
Yeah, and I think the defense actually, from my eyes, has been more concerning with Bridges than maybe even the offense. I think the shot will come, but his impact and effort on defense seemed to be better in this game. Now, you mentioned this. Next up for the Knicks, big game on Tuesday in the NBA Cup, which I know you love, Steph, as they battle the Magic to determine who wins Group A. What should the Knicks expect against this Magic team that's played well without their best offensive player in Paolo Banchero?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about you go from one of the worst teams in the NBA to one of the hottest, if not the hottest. I got to look at the win streaks to see where they stand right now, just in terms of the most wins in a row. But Orlando's got to be up there. And Franz Wagner's been, playing out of his mind. He's a great player. The Knicks, this is a big game for a lot of reasons. One including the NBA Cup, which you mentioned. Now, I don't have to be a big fan of the NBA Cup to, also understand that this is a make or break game for them. And a lot will depend. Moving forward, are they going to go to Vegas? We don't know that. A lot will depend on their schedule, what happens with this game against Orlando. And Franz Wagner, they're going to have to figure out a way to stop him. Orlando's a good team, and they're playing very well. So that's going to be a fun game.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. Orlando, very good defensive team. We'll see what the Knicks are able to do on Tuesday. Last thing for me, Steph, as I mentioned, Knicks now in the midst of a 4-game homestand after the Magic. They've got games against the Hornets and the Pistons. How important is it that the Knicks feast on some home cooking over these next 3 games after they've been on the road for a good amount of this season thus far?
Yeah, I mean, I think they've done a pretty good job beating the teams that they're supposed to beat. A lot of them were tough. I mean, you take the Bulls game out of it, they should have won that game and they didn't. But, I think they've done a good job otherwise beating the teams they should beat. Some of them weren't easy. The Nets game went down to the wire and the Hornets game went down to the wire. But, these are 2 games upcoming that they should win. I know the Pistons are playing a lot better than the last time the Knicks saw them in Detroit. I think that's going to be a tough battle. Cade Cunningham, to me, is one of the most improved players in the NBA. So, I think that one will be tough. The Hornets, they gave them, a run for their money just a couple of days ago. So, you can't take these 2 games for granted. They're going to be harder than the Pelicans no matter what.
All right, we'll see how that all shakes up and how the Knicks finish up this 4-game homestand. That is Stefan Bondy. He is very excited for that NBA Cup matchup on Tuesday.
That's
so
right.
Excited. Can't wait to see the orange court. I already know, Steph. I already know that. All right. Steph, thank you for your time. Appreciate it, man. We'll talk soon.
All right, man.
Okay, so we'll see if the Knicks and the Nets can enjoy a bit of home cooking this week. We'll see how that all plays out for both teams as they move forward. Also of note, a very interesting matchup for the Knicks. On Tuesday night, they play the Magic. As noted in the NBA Cup, that will decide their group. Who wins that group, the winner of that game will win that group and advance to the quarterfinals. So interesting things and a chance for the Knicks to stay alive in the NBA Cup. Special thanks to my guests, Mike Bisceglia, Alex Benesowitz, and Stefan Bondy on this episode of New York Got Game. And as always, got to thank the people that help make this show what it is. My editor, Catherine Cooper, my producer, Nick Federico, and my director, Zachary Taub. For all of those great people, I'm Dexter Henry. We'll see you next week, next time on New York Got Game.
And thanks for watching New York Got Game. Boom shakalaka.